The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. It's time for New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 1-year-old and a couple months.
Uh, like you just add that on and change. My name is Gavin. I have an almost 1 year old.
Nice. See, that gets you the gist. You know what to
Yeah,
buy them for presents now.
yeah, ballpark.
So they can't quite skate yet, so I'm not going to buy them
Yeah.
hockey skates, but they'll probably
Yeah.
enjoy a ball to throw around.
Oh,
But
she's loving throwing ball, especially with
especially
dog around. Is your little one playing with the dog yet?
no, they see he's just started to warm up because he's
Baby or
fat
dog?
dog. The dog does not like the baby.
Okay.
They do not get along. So, well, it's fun. It's avoidance, pure
Yeah.
avoidance. But what's he's discovered is that the kid drops an abundance of food. Anywhere he
Yeah.
goes, this kid is just leaving a trail of delicious baby food. So the dog is starting to understand that, like, okay, if I tolerate this little thing, he pays out
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
commonly.
Yeah.
So to the point, action, and
Don't bite the food dispenser.
the one that these two other big ones seem so attached to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and to the point, he's actually fed the dog once, so he's given
Okay.
like just a little morsel.
Right now, it still all revolves around food.
Oh, absolutely, and even that's like
But then again,
still,
that's your dog. Like, let's face it.
yeah. Oh,
We know your dog. We know what dog we're talking about here. Your
not
dog's
very,
universe is just like hamburgers orbiting cheese balls.
yeah, and that's about it. That's about as deep as his intelligence goes.
Yeah.
It's just enough so he can eat a bunch and not
Yeah.
die. That's
And then
everything
chew
else.
on a hammer for dessert.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, so my dog to there's some backstory to that joke. My dog absolutely loves metallic objects. Always has. Like so, he licks his leash, the metal part of it. He licks his favorite toy for the better part of 5 years was a hammer, which he slowly gnawed the handle off of. To which he was just find it a fine stub by the end of it, and he would lick the metal part of the hammer. Just I'm talking like hours. It was his jam to the point like for Christmas, like we generally think about just buying him
Another
a
hammer.
hammer. Merry Christmas, dog. Here's your hammer. Because it's lasted more than any other toy. All the other toys he just goes through with such a plume. Like it doesn't last like even a
Well, it's
week.
because you're not buying your dog toys at the hardware store. That's your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember
Metallic.
when he came to visit my dog and he like ripped the legs off of one of my dog's toys. And like my dog had had that toy for a long time, like a couple years, because my dog's like super gentle and precious with his toys. And then yours came in like,
Yeah, that's not
and
even. It's
it
not from
licked his hammer.
strength. Like this is a pug, so
Yeah.
it's not from strength. It's just tenacity.
Yeah.
It's like he comes at it with such vicious, awful ways that I guess toy manufacturers don't figure. Like, he should really be testing these things to
Yeah.
help him out.
Really, it's like he'll. It's like when the government hires like hackers to beef up their security. It's like they should just hire this dog. It's like beef up their seam work,
Yeah, like hammer manufacturers to test how
handle strength.
how delicious their hammers are, and then toy manufacturers to see how this manipulative pug can
You know,
rip those things apart.
yeah. Of course,
So
your pug will just bring a hammer and rip up the toys anyways. So your
that's
dog
true.
uses tools. We're all lost.
Nice, we're done.
Um, yeah, no, our baby's starting to play with the dog. She likes picking up the ball and throwing it, and he'll go after it. He's still not ready to let her pet him, but I don't blame him because I don't let her pet the top of my head because it usually involves either me having avocado rubbed in my hair or her leaving with a fistful of it. So she doesn't understand really how to interact with hair. That's also because she doesn't have much herself yet. So, but aside from
Yes.
that, it's pretty good. And he's been good. Like if he's not in the mood, he avoids her. Most he'll do is maybe just growl a little bit. That's mostly just to. That's also a growl to let us know it's like get her away from me. You know, he just goes a little bit to Clint Eastwood on us, and we just throw him over to the corner there, and it's like, okay, then we will build a barricade around the couch, and he's safe, and he'll have a nap, and he's happy. So, but yeah, dogs and
Yeah,
babies, dogs and babies.
yeah. He wants to so badly to be friends with the dog, but the dog
Mm,
just wants nothing to do with him.
yeah,
And there's interesting interactions because he wants to still even pet it while he's eating, and that's especially like a no go. Like you do
Yeah.
not interact with this dog when he's eating.
Hmm.
Gets real protective. So he'll just plant his face into the food to protect it from him, and then just growl, like growl at him, like don't do it, like don't
Through the
do it,
food.
like I'm gonna get it. And it's actually, I don't. In many ways, I'm actually trying to correct the baby on that because I think that's a good sign for him to learn. Like
Mm.
when a dog is eating, but more importantly when he's growling and like
Yeah.
tensed up, like you don't. You're in the wrong here. You should not be
Yeah.
approaching this
It's
animal.
also a factor too. It's like here's a really good opportunity to teach your child about a real world danger. And like sure, you can train your dog to stop growling at the baby when they're by the food dish. But you should also take that opportunity, and more importantly, so to teach your baby to don't touch a growling dog, because that's the better lesson. Like, and like dogs will protect their food. Like they're animals. Like we have to remember they're animals. But to teach a kid that it's like, yeah, here's a moment. Like, don't do it because this is danger. Like it's doggy doesn't want to be touched right now. Don't touch the doggy. There's far more to come of that over the life of your kid than just the manners of your dog. Um, and yeah, I think little opportunities like that to find in life, like you can protect your kid from the dangers, which is obviously an important factor, but it's also to take those opportunities like, okay, now that I've protected you from it, but you can see it, let's talk about it. Or let's at least, talk as much as you can to a 1 year old. But like,
Draw diagrams
it'll
for it. And,
yeah, yeah. It'll get more involved. But yeah, it's those opportunities to be like, that's danger, but this is why, and this is how you don't be near it.
yeah. Yeah, we
It's
had
just,
one where
yeah. You go ahead.
yeah. No, so we had one where over the weekend we were with my sister's dogs and they're adorable, like great gentle dogs. But one's like a pretty tall shepherd, taller than my son. So he comes at my son and he actually gets quite startled by it, like a little bit
Hmm.
afraid of it. And he keels back and he comes over to me. Now the as much as I can, I'm trying to hope he avoids a fear of dogs
Yeah,
because especially like in this city, like it's so crippling because there's just so many dogs like
so
all
many.
over the place. Then you go over to a friend's place or a family's place and they have a dog, and it's like, well, now I got a kid that's terrified of dogs. It's a situation.
Yeah,
So like I did my best to let him calm down, let him see it, and then in a more calm setting when the dog was kind of relaxed and sitting, but still even standing up, so he's taller. Like I made sure they were introduced again just to try to. It's like no, see, he's fine. Like,
hmm
pet the dog, like see like how nice he is, like oh, and the dog again is really a sweetheart.
yeah.
So he was super
Just, it
happy.
was
He was
just
like
excited.
licking,
Yeah.
yeah, licking his face and such. So it's just trying to. That's one that worries me as far as like a kid's phobia of dogs because
Hmm.
that's a painful one.
Yeah, yeah. Because well, especially yeah, as you said, like the city. If you want to go to any park in the city, there's going to be dogs there because there's just not the green space. There's really not a lot of like dog only areas. And, being a dog owner before being a parent, like so many times, like I'd be taking the dog to the park and there'd be kids very timid of him. And that's when, like, if the parents were kind of like, can our kids say hi to your dog? I would be all for it just because it's an opportunity. It's like, yeah, you're trying to break this phobia by all means. Like, he's more scared of your your kid than he is, so because our dog is such a beta.
Yeah,
um
just just terror incarnate. Really, your
he's
dog.
just yeah, he's a little beta, but that's good. We love him still, so he's definitely not going to challenge us for dominance of the apartment, which I think would be adorable if he tried though.
God,
um
look at you. You're so
oh,
cute. Look at you angry.
yeah.
Who's angry? Who's angry?
But yeah, dogs and
Nice,
babies.
nice man. So you mentioned this week you were too busy working on a video game to play video games. Did I
Yep.
understand correctly?
Yeah. That's pretty well where my work is now. Like, I got like one game's coming out in August, another one coming out soon, and then I'm just this one that I'm just starting on. Just started production about 3 weeks ago, and then I might have another one. Well, I not might. I like we're like in pre production, basically just pencil sketches and chats. But
See, three pre's. I thought that was more like, do you want to make a game? Maybe. Okay,
no,
let's
no,
talk
we've already
about.
started talking about it and sketching it out and stuff, and like early project stuff. So But yeah, man, indie games, it's fun
Yeah.
work, but
So what?
busy
So what does
work.
that like? What does that do for your game appetite though? Like when are you finding that after so you spend your entire day working on one of those games, and then you finish in time to kick up your heels? Does that dissuade you from playing video games, or is it
Not
really? Do
too
you feel it's separate?
much. No,
Okay.
I'm okay because I'm from like the art and design end. So like okay, if I was working as a QA, like quality control kind of deal, like then I could see that I'd be fatigued. But the amount that I'm actually having to pick up a controller and test something out is not as much as, let's say, um, like more of a back end position, like a programmer, making sure that the code they implement isn't broken. Um, a lot of times, most of my work, I know whether it's successful or not before I even export the assets because I just know from looking at the still. Um, Occasionally, like, you still have to pick it up and play it, but it's not like a substantial percentage of my day to throw off my appetite for wanting to pick up a controller and play something else. And also, too, like, you know, you might be working on one genre, but it doesn't mean that you're going to go home and play that same thing. You might go home and switch it up and do something else. So, yeah. But yeah, I was kind of concerned about that at first. It's like, oh, is this going to make me not want to play games? But luckily, the games that I'm playing and the games that I'm making don't really overlap too much. And also, when I'm working on games, I spend more time in Photoshop and Illustrator than I do like in a game build itself and playing around in it. So it still levels out all right.
Okay.
And
So
honestly, the little time I get to game anyways would never really like it's still insatiable. Like my appetite's still insatiable, even with the game design stuff on top of it.
So I was looking for the so when you're looking at games though now, have you found you had a more of a, would you call it a critical eye? Would it be more of appreciation of certain elements of the design now that you're in the thick of it yourself?
Yeah, I'd say UI, like menus and stuff. Um, One of my favorite things is if a game has it the initial setup is like you can just mash A or X, like the primary button, like face button. And you can just mash it, and by just spamming that button until everything loads, you're back to where you left off. And that's one of my favorite little bits of design that really good games tend to have. Is just like it's like I just want to get back into where I left off. Like I saved, I quit, I'm done. I loaded it up, and like there might be a few screens to get through, but as long as I don't have to break that cycle of just spamming A or spamming X to like I have to like, oh, I gotta go down two and then hit and then up one and then hit. Like no, don't do that. Like
Nice.
just let me get back
It's
to my
like
bookmark, and I'm just gonna hit one button to do it. And
get
I
back to
always
the
find
flow.
that's a beautiful little bit of design. But yeah, menus and stuff I find are one of the things where I'll really get little bits of like, oh, I wish you just had to move this here because this doesn't make any sense. And um, but yeah, I think that's the primary one. And then actually, it's not just being critical; it's also being very appreciative, like seeing something. And I think I'm actually a little bit less critical about things like graphics and that, understanding how much, um, like how many obstacles are in the way and how many things have to be kind of considered and overcome. That, like, if I look at a game like Fallout 4, for example, a lot of people rag on it for not being the best graphics, but like it is an open world game in a substantially large area of land, and some of those vista moments are like it's what I refer to as a big brushstroke game. So it's like it's a game that you admire it for. It's like an impressionist painting as opposed to like a Renaissance painting, where it's not about the detail and the finer work. It's about the overall sweeping nature of the composition, as opposed to like, look at how realistic that pressure cooker is on the stove. And it's like, apparently the new Uncharted game is fantastic for that aspect. And it also has some really beautiful sweeping moments as well, and large brushstroke moments as well. But like some games can be very successful just looking at breaking down what this visual should be in its most basic color, shape, and form. And like Fallout's like that. Firewatch is a beautiful example of that because it wasn't just done for the sake of economy; it was done for the sake of design and aesthetic. So yeah, become more appreciative of like what they're able to do with what restrictions were put in place. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Then there's other times too, I'm like, oh, that, come on, that's sloppy. Come on, pull your socks up.
Yeah, it's kind of actually kind of makes me think about the we're trying more and more to read to our son, just trying to always have, but trying to even step it up a bit further, and especially ones that teach words and such and numbers.
Hmm.
And some of these, man, some of this artwork really feels like they're not trying.
Oh yeah.
It's like they're lousy, so they just decided to make a kids book because like, this is easy. I'll just put whatever I want on the page. And some of it you can appreciate that it's trying to be, I would almost call it like sloppy in the sense that like, hey kid, you could have done this too. Like, so it's call it like their level that. But there's some that even with that style, you can tell that it's purposeful and still being artful. And then there's others that are just, I don't have to try hard because this is for babies. Like
Yeah.
that's really
There's
starting to
this,
like drag on me a bit.
okay.
Sorry, no, I'm just saying the no that type of going through these books like that's really just starting to drag on me. And there's two ways
Yeah.
part. One is either like they're trying to be too sweeping for a page that's going to be open for the better part of like 5 seconds,
Hmm.
or it's just complete like throwaway nonsense like where it's garbage art that clearly this person isn't good at art and they decided to just do a kids book because who cares?
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's a combination of that, and I think sometimes too, like uh, having done some work in that field for a few years, um, budgets for kids books can sometimes be very, very low. So it's also just a matter of like, more often than not, it's a publisher and author, um, and the artists that they can afford are just not of like, they're ones
like
that are really, really just
it's like
starting
Debbie
out.
from accounting, you mean?
Yeah, or it's more of a hobbyist approach. Like you do see that very, very frequently, and it's like it's the artists who didn't take the time to sit down and do the math and figure out how many hours is it going to take me to paint this, how much can they afford to pay me, would I make more mowing lawns? Um, and I'm not kidding. Like that's
Wow.
literally the type of math that a lot of artists just don't do, and and that's how a lot of these projects end up getting made, um, which is sad. But they're actually talking about artists and children's books. There's this one artist named Charles Fuge,
Mm-hmm.
like Charles and Fuge. He does this one series called Little Wombat.
Little
He's an
Wombat,
illustrator,
nice.
works with a variety of different writers and that, but his stuff is just some of the best watercolor illustrations I've seen in so long.
Mm.
We've got a collection of his stuff already, and it's just it's so lush and pretty, and the he does animals with such life, and like just you just look, you just want to hug him, you just want to hug a little wombat.
That's
It's
awesome.
just some of the it's a book that I enjoy reading to her because I really love looking at the illustrations, and every time I look at the illustrations I find new little details, like like a little worm poking his head out from a bit of mud around the corner making a funny face, and it's like, I didn't see that 3 read throughs ago, and it's like just this sort of, you can see a lot of love in the work and in the illustrations, and that's the type of stuff that I get really excited about, is when like you can see somebody actually giving a
Mm.
crap about it. Like that's
Yeah,
the
it kind of
thing
feels
is,
like that kind of feels like the next Pixar type of situation where if they could find a way to produce those books that the parents enjoy too, like
yeah,
because some of these are just like I mean it's obviously targeted for kids like and they're supposed to be fun and approachable and some even you can kind of play around with your voice and have fun with it, but some of them are
yeah,
just such drivel. Like
yeah.
these books are so bad sometimes.
It
Not
is.
even
It's
like
like you have to kind of there. It's like a needle in a haystack sometimes finding the good ones. Like another one we really like is called the Gruffalo. I'm not sure if you had that one yet.
the Gruffalo. No.
Yeah. Oh, it's really fun, and it's fun to read too because it's very voice fun.
Okay.
Like it's about this little mouse making his way through the woods, and it's kind of like it's a play on the Boy Who Cried Wolf, kind of
Okay.
thing. But then like the wolf shows up, and then the boy tricks the wolf to convince all the townsfolk he was right all along.
That's
And it's yeah, it's fun. It's a good one. But yeah,
nice one.
yeah,
See, one that I like if oh sorry, go on.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't really have any decent point.
Sounded like I cut off a wonderful thought.
No, no.
We'll never know. No, the like one we had, for instance, it's I'll apologize in advance for the name, Yusuke Yunenzu, and the book's called just Yum Yum,
Okay.
and it's fun enough because it's like what dish would you feed to a cat? Of course, it's fish, like yum yum. But and then each of the pages have cutouts of the mouth. So you read the one sentence about it, and then more like yes, more please, and then on the second page it overlaps to look as if the thing is in the animal's mouth.
Okay.
So that's fun enough for the kid because it's a little bit interactive. But like the art style itself is super. You would almost call it childish, like
Hmm.
big, like blotchy lines, like super simple colors, but it's done in a way to be aesthetically pleasing. Like it's artistic. Like it's with it's not a throwaway. This is how easily I can draw a cat. This is I have a style, and I have a approach I'm trying to get. And you read something like that, and that book is one of my more favorite to read because it's yeah, even from like you're looking at it, you can appreciate it in its entirety. So it's not just looking like garbage. The so we're gonna start getting into like kid book corners too. We're
Yeah,
really
it's
we're
like
covering. Here's what we like to drink. Here's the games we play, and oh, here's some books you can read. Maybe not
yeah,
necessarily in
here's
that
our
order,
yeah,
but it's tough, man. It's
like
tough. Like that's
bizarro Oprah.
it's kind of tough though, and you see that with I've noticed it with parent friends where you just start to pass around the good ones,
Yeah,
like the good ones that either like work on kids or that they themselves just kind of appreciated
yeah.
because it
I
seems like
think if anything too, it's a 1-2 punch. Like if a parent really likes reading it, they're gonna do it with a little bit more gusto, and that's gonna make the experience better for the kid. And then the kid is going to enjoy that book more so because they know if they pick that book, mommy or daddy is going to give it 110%. If they pick that other one, they're just gonna phone it in. So.
and Donnie the dragon went down to the stream and yada yada yada,
Yeah.
and the princess
So
went away.
it's finding that good one where it's just like, yeah, like the kid likes the enthusiasm as much as they like the story. And if it's, so it could be that, like the Gruffalo was one that got recommended to us by another parent. So, and like here I am recommending to another one. Like it's like, it's a word of mouth sort of thing. And I think that's where you find the good ones. I think Wombat was one we sort of just stumbled across, but it was I'm happy we did because then we just picked up the rest of the Wombat series. And I'm keeping my eye out for other books that he's done.
I have
Mostly
to
just
check
because
that
I
out.
love looking at his illustrations. They're just a pleasure to look at.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So let's move to a new corner.
Yeah,
I don't
the
even. That was quite the segue because we went from what talking about making video games to critiquing video games to critiquing artwork to kids books
and then we
to
just
just
then
kids
we
books.
just jumped off a cliff. Like, okay, let's stop talking about
Enough
books.
of that. Thelma
Well,
and
the
Louise
so
to
I'll
the
speak
next.
about for what I played this week. It's still just been Just Cause. Well, I'll say one thing. I finally won a game in NHL 16,
Oh, nice.
and it's just man, you start to when you begin to understand it, it becomes a little bit more fun. I'll say it wasn't very approachable at
Hmm.
first, especially like if having skipped a couple years of playing these games, like so I probably like lost a bunch of the like. It's always like a bit of a
It's
language to playing
like
these
a learning
games.
curve fall off. And that's the thing
Exactly.
too, is like the things that they might have implemented in those other previous 2 years. Like you're not just learning what's new in this year's version, but you're also having to catch up on what they've implemented in the last previous 2 years. So it's like you had 3 years worth of new gameplay mechanics to learn in one kind of version of the game.
Yeah, and I'll say that they definitely make you work for those goals. Like a lot of times in previous games, like you'd eventually find the method to score the goal. Like I remember one year it was like we're introducing one timers, and just every every time you took a one timer, you had like an 80% chance of scoring. So that game was about can you set up the one timer slash goal.
Yeah.
I remember the one year I found out that if you skate down, shoot it at his to the bottom right where he kick out his pad, you can get your own rebound and score like every time. So I had games where it was like 12-0 and just Or man, the famous one from, jeez, I think it's NHL '95 or Stanley Cup '95. This is Super Nintendo. It was third person hockey, so whoever you were controlling, you were behind the player.
Oh,
It's man. I went back at one point and tried as an emulator. It is weird. It is a
that
hard
is
game.
why didn't they? Wasn't there one like a few years back that tried to implement first-person hockey for
Oh,
like the fights?
see, okay, for the fights, maybe that would be kind of a
Yeah,
that'd be cheeky. But I remember,
I
so
think
this
it was in like
NHL
the
game,
360 era, but yeah, it was like those first-person fights.
yeah, I
That's
can imagine
weird.
parents getting upset about that, like just like
Yeah, it's a
looking at
little
your kids like throwing like throwing punches in this other in an aggressive fashion too, because it's not like it's boxing or MMA. Like this is just another
yeah,
sport where people have
it's
lost their temper.
yeah, you're literally just trying to get the person to spit out chiclets. Like that's all it is. Like you're not
It's like Bar Fight Simulator 2016. So this
rated E for everyone.
so this game you would go to so I think it was like Stanley Cup '95 or something like that. You would go skate towards the opponent's net and then flick it from center ice, and the goalie's AI would have it skate towards center to come to you, but too far so the puck would drop behind him and just score. So I remember like my brother and I were playing this game, and it's basically a game of who can get to center ice and flick the puck. So as soon as he starts going there, you're desperately trying to hit him because you know he's going to do the trick and get the guaranteed goal. So nothing but that. Like,
Oh, that's
um,
hilarious.
but this one they seem like they've really tightened it up, and there's not a lot of that. Like you really have to be on point and kind of hit the corners and such. And I'd say almost to an extent where it's certainly got more fun that I've got the curve. Finally won a game. It felt like I kind of earned it,
Yeah.
but to the point where it's just it doesn't necessarily feel very fun. Like there's a certain like there's they feels like they're in that uncanny valley now, where the
It's a
game is so
yeah.
realistic that like it's well, I should go play hockey, I guess. Like that's what it feels like when I play hockey. It's really hard. Like
Yeah,
why can't I'm here
it's
for some fun?
you want to feel powerful. You don't want to feel this. You don't go to experience what you experience in everyday life virtually because what's just live it then. Yeah, that's a weird sort of balance that has to get sorted with games sometimes. Is that um, is a balance between a simulation and a game. And the closer you get to simulation, the further you get from game. And more often than not, the further you get from game, the further you get from fun.
Hmm.
Farm Simulator 2014, I'm looking at you. Um, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I've never played the game. I'm just joking. Whenever I do see those on Steam, though, I'm always like, wow, they actually like it looks like a fully realized experience.
And
Like
it's
not
those
for
those
me.
apparently sell like gangbusters. Those and truck simulators
Yeah.
apparently. So
Anyways.
well, dad challenge. Guess what we're playing next?
Oh.
Farm simulator and truck simulator.
Oh God. There's one simulator called Spin Tires that I always wanted to try, but then something went a little south on that. I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was a little bit of a squabble,
Hmm.
some bad blood with the developers or whatnot. But that was one where it was basically the whole game was trying to get stuck and unstuck from the mud.
God, that sounds frustrating. Like
Yeah,
that's a terrible situation.
but it had really good mud simulation, so it was like the mud would distort and shift and move. Like it looked really cool. But I never picked it up because I'm like, that's a lot of money to get stuck in the mud. Oh,
So the yeah, so NHL, like I said, so it's I don't I'm gonna keep going with it. I guess in some ways I'm still almost compelled, not almost, I am compelled to play it. So which is a good sign, and like maybe kind of gets it becomes a bit more of a power fantasy once you really learn what you're doing.
and also
So
too, like not everybody plays as much real life hockey as you and that game. So like the audience of that game, like maybe 20-30%. Oh, I'm just totally making up numbers here, but like what percentage of the people who are playing the game have an opportunity to play a lot of real life hockey as well? So
yeah,
how
definitely.
like would that like you compare it to like this is like Wednesday night? Why did I just do Wednesday night here? Um, as opposed to like people who don't get on the ice very often being like this feels really realistic. That's cool.
Yeah,
I
so
don't get this anywhere else in my life.
It's like I'm bad at normal hockey. Why are you making me bad at virtual? Give me something here, man. I paid you money. Come on. If I want to go and not score goals, I could just go play hockey.
Yeah, yeah.
Exact same thing happens. The otherwise, I was playing. So I've kept on with Just Cause. Um, the I don't think people touted the water animation enough. Like that,
Oh, it was beautiful.
that's unbelievable. Like what they've
And
been able
like
to achieve.
driving on like the jet skis on the water and like hitting the waves, really fun.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. I'll say that I went through this one mission, and it's one of the characters. Like I can't stand one of my least favorite tropes is the tough female trope.
Oh yeah, I know who
Like
you're talking about.
yeah, it's just really boring. Like it's just like it's like whatever, boys. See if you can, don't get your panties in a bunch, chunk. And they always like hit the
Yeah,
gun and they run. And just like it's like, can you not be tough and have like just any other type of personality? Like as soon as, well, clearly this woman is super capable with fighting, so clearly she has to be angry and aggressive and dismissive. Like just
yeah,
why can't they be like kind and charming?
yeah. I think you hearing you say that, I'm like, yeah, just play Uncharted, man. Just
Yes,
play
sounds
Uncharted.
like I gotta. I'll get to. I'm getting there. Like I think this week I might crack it out. I wanted to actually get through Just Cause because there seemed to be not similarities, but it's third person action type of things,
Yeah,
and I don't want to have like two on those on the go. I'll say this: so I had so that trope, like that character. We're playing this mission. First of all, the mission is a escort mission. So at this
always fun.
point, which worst, like I don't know what game developers are thinking. Those are the worst damn missions in gaming because the AI is so stupid and it's
Yeah.
so
It's
and I,
like
so I,
not only are you trying to keep yourself alive, but you're trying to keep this like small little herd of lemmings alive too. And it's just like they're doing everything in their power to not live,
and they're so
and
incapable.
everybody's trying to kill them at the same time.
And yeah, and it's miserable. Like not having fun. And the thing is, I think they do it for tension, right? Because like you are super god gunslinger, so what's it matter to you? But you have this other person. This is your brother. Like he's technically a fighter, like Mario in the game. He's a fighter
Yeah,
as well, I guess. So it's not like he's damsel in distress, but it's still just he's useless, like relatively useless, and you got
yeah.
to defend him and keep him alive. And I do. I finally get past it, and it's like, oh no, one more volley of tanks coming in, and they do, and I run over it, actually pretty efficiently, like bam, 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 kill them all, and then things kind of just pause for a bit. I'm like, what's up with this? All of a sudden you hear like, looks like I'm gonna have to save you again, Rico, and it's the tough girl character, and she comes in on her helicopter, and I guess like I beat the animation. And I killed the tanks before she had a chance. So, but she just takes her helicopter and then runs it into the side of a cliff and dies. And I lost the mission. So it's just like there's nobody, there's no threat. I took care of everything. In swoops the character I hate. Looks like I gotta save you again. Just like, and just like, oh, you have to start again. Natasha died. I'm like, what? She she didn't need to be there. Like I finished it all, and then she just ran into a cliff. Why are you punishing me?
She could have stayed home and just like cleaned her machine gun or whatever she does in her spare time, but no.
And like two or three other times, like, and so I did it a couple times, like once more, I think, and again, like I literally killed everybody. I guess like because it's you would really just have to like kick around because at that point, given the scenario,
Yeah,
like you're in run and gun mode. Like this one is actually really intense. It was an enjoyable sequence otherwise.
yeah,
When you kind of ferreted off the your escort away and he was kind of safe, it's actually really intense and you're running around and you're in that mode. This end thing comes up, this last scene where the three are supposed to come in and she's supposed to swoop and like kill three off, and so I killed them all three again, but this time she didn't. She managed to not run into the cliff and kill herself. So I got to see the end sequence, and there it is. So she gets off the plane, chunk. Well, it looks like I had to save your ass again. I'm like, oh, you shut up, like f you, lady. That is awful. And it's not, and that part's not a woman. If any character could have got off that plane and said that to me,
yeah.
because at that point I had killed thousands of soldiers. I could have used their help at any point, but just
You're
at the
being
end.
investigated for war crimes. You're doing so well,
Oh
and
man, I was livid to like just that backhanded comment. Which a again like that comment itself is a cliche coming from a cliche character that I hate after they did none of the things that they said they did.
Yep.
And it's just, I was livid, man.
That's funny.
Just, oh. So I was speaking about being livid. You had, you had mentioned that you had heard some news about No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
And for
I
you to have
heard.
mentioned it, I can't assume it's good.
Make it seem like I'm just some bad news bear.
Mm-hmm.
No, I heard. Okay, there's this one person who spent like $1,300 to get the game early, and
Through actual channels or
yeah,
through.
it's like some official channel, but he paid a stupid amount of money, got it early, and I guess he beat it in like about 30 hours.
Nice. Awesome.
And he found the center of the universe,
Yeah, because
and
that's
not
like
on
the.
purpose.
He just stumbled into it. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like everyone's like, so basically, it's like, oh, well, the game's not living up to blah blah blah, and it's broken and glitchy, and but it's like I'm also thinking, it's like, you know what, 30 hours, that's not bad. That's
Yes.
feels good to me. Like
I
that's
think
gonna be a
it's.
few months.
Yeah, it's like 4 months of dad time. Easy.
Yeah, and but then like it's like found the center of the universe. I'm like, okay, so what? He proved Hawking wrong? Like, I don't know what. Why are you upset? But I guess there's like a huge group of people who are really upset because it's just like proves that the game isn't living up to its expectations. But that's not really the game's fault when the expectations for the game, like the game is delivering on the things it's saying it's delivering on, but everybody else's imaginations have run amok, and now it's like an unobtainable goal. That it's like, well, this game's not curing the Zika virus, so like, why should we
Mm,
have to pay for it?
5 out of 10.
Yeah,
No, I think the yeah, it's either like that was either just a remarkable play where you because I think when you start, it's random where you start,
yeah,
and he might have just started in the absolute perfect spot, or it's
yeah,
actually just that easy. If you power, depends how he's playing too. If he, well, you said you mentioned he wasn't really trying
yeah.
to
He
do
wasn't
it.
looking for the center.
He wasn't trying to speed through it.
No, no, no.
Okay. Yeah, I think in many ways too. I mean, you think about how fast. I don't know what the record is, but whatever the record would be for a speed run of Diablo 3,
Yeah,
right? But for people who enjoy it, like I know that I have a couple of buddies who just they keep going through it. Like they play the
yep.
seasons and they're playing it again and again and again. So, or even like I think to some regard too, it's a bit more akin to call it a Minecraft than it would
Yeah.
be to a linear story game because it's about finding like there's I think trillion planets like they have.
Something
Like
crazy.
there's a lot to just go and see and explore. Like
Yeah,
like even that guy who beat it, like I'd be curious to see what happens. Is he satiated? He's like, all right, I'm just gonna pack it back up in the disc and like go home, or is he gonna get back into his spaceship and fly around and discover some new planets?
yeah. I think it's just gonna be. I'm gonna treat it like a flight sim. Like I just want to fly
Oh,
around and see things. That's it, really.
oh
Like,
yeah, that's one of the best things to do. I mean, some of the vistas, and then like you jump off this one planet and go to the moon, which happens to have something, and on the way you pass like 6 star cruisers, and then one you graze a shot by accident, so you have to shoot them down. And then you need new materials, so you crash land on the second planet, and you go through. Then there's a Sential and some other animals you haven't discovered yet. Like
yeah,
it's something that kind of puts you through. And in some ways too, that's almost reassuring because if you ever did want to just like close it off, like all right, I'm done. I'm just going to find the center. At least
yeah,
it's not some unobtainable. It's going to take you 300 hours.
yeah. Exactly. So I don't know, but yeah, there was a big, little bit of
Nice
a
try, Gavin.
hullabaloo.
Enthusiasm maintained.
Oh, there we go. I'll maybe. I'll wait till next week to watch you cry.
Yeah, I guess like, geez, what are we now? Today we are recording this on August 1st. The so I've actually pre-ordered. I try not to. I don't necessarily like the pre-order culture around like give us money for a game you don't know that's any good yet.
Yeah,
But this one in particular, just
it's got its hooks in you.
oh yeah, this one I'm ready for. There's one other pre-order I did, but that was for Borderlands, the pre-sequel.
Okay.
But with that one, that was more of a pedigree because I enjoyed 1 and 2 so much,
Yeah.
and given like the trailers and everything, and the fact that trailers were done in game and discussions from the developers and such, it's like, oh, this will be
Yeah.
fine, and that
Oh
worked
yeah,
out
and
fantastic.
it was. I think if anything, it was like an expansion pack that they're like, let's just make this a whole game.
Oh yeah,
And they did, and it was more of the same, but it was more of good. So it's
yeah.
like,
That's
you
exactly what
know,
I was pre-ordering. So it's like,
yeah, it's like, oh, more chicken wings. It's like, yeah, more chicken wings.
yeah, like
Like, why are you? It's the same people, like people complaining about the new Jason Bourne movie because like, oh, it's like the other Jason Bourne movies. I'm like, more chicken wings.
yeah,
Like,
you're welcome. Like
you're
there you
welcome. Your primary complaint of the Jeremy Renner Bourne movie was that it wasn't Bourne movie.
wasn't born enough.
So we gave you a Bourne movie, and now you're complaining it's too Bourne. It's like, you know,
I
get the
think that
hell
yeah,
out
that
of here.
happened to I think that happened to Bond a little bit too.
Yeah,
Because there's all the you found out so much about Pierce Brosnan when he did it. I mean, what did you really know about him, right? Like it was really just sexy looking male running around doing sexy stunts with sexy people.
you got to
And
think for Pierce, don't you?
oh, who doesn't?
Use sexy a lot in that sentence.
Do you blame me? Come
No,
on.
no, he's a handsome man.
But yeah, so it was just it was a romp, right? But then you could hear people saying like, oh, when's James gonna evolve? Like when's he gonna be modern?
Yeah,
And the recent stint, so help me with the actor's name,
Daniel Craig.
Yeah, yeah, you found out a bunch. He was kind of brooding. He
Yeah,
had a past. No, you learned a bunch about him. He like fell in love and quit at one point. And
yeah,
now it's kind of like you're not hearing a lot of great reviews for like a lot of those Bond films.
yeah.
I mean, I'll say
Where's
like
the fun
I've liked
from
them
the
all,
other
but
ones? It's like,
yeah, where's the fun in this? You
yeah,
told us to get rid of it. Like you
yeah,
wanted gritty realism.
like the worst restaurant patrons ever. It's like, waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Oh, sorry, I will remove the fly. Here's your soup, sir. Hey, where's my fly?
Yelp review: not enough flies in my soup. 3 stars.
Uh,
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 now the so myself, I'm not. I think we will be wrapping it up here for the week. Now myself, I'm not drinking a beer, unfortunately. I'm having the a delicious drink, which is mimicking a poor rum and coke because it's a Pepsi and whiskey, but quite delicious. It's working out for me. But unfortunately, I didn't have a.
I think we could refer to it as an airport bathroom rum and coke.
Jeez. A garage. It goes well with my gas station cupcakes. So.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like the type of rum and coke you cobble together with whatever you found in
So, well,
an
I gotta drink.
airport.
Gotta drink something.
Yeah,
I would almost call it like it's fitting for what was a long weekend for us in Canada
yeah.
because like that is kind of the cottage experience where sometimes it's just what do we
Oh yeah,
have in this substandard house
yeah.
to put together a meal or drink.
Sloppy Joe,
Pepsi,
Bloody Mary.
sloppy joes, and Pepsi and Crown Royal.
Yeah,
But it tastes fine. But unfortunately, that means I didn't have a beer pick for the week. But I understand that you do.
I do. Here's what's left of it. Wonderful color. Yeah, it's the
For the audio listeners, that is a robust red color.
yeah. No, I'm trying the Rickards Red Session Lager. The can here. It was one of those times where I went into the beer store and they were doing samples, and I tried a sample, and I liked it. Yeah, it's nice. It's actually technically, even though it's a really nice dark, rich color and it's got a pretty nice flavor to it, it's a light beer. So, not that that's really anything that concerns me. But yeah, it's only 4%, which is good.
It's good for
But
dad.
yeah,
Good for dad duties.
good for dad duties. Keeps your head in the game. And yeah,
It takes your head out of the game just enough.
just enough to not cry. And yeah, no, it's a tasty beer. They had a Rattler there as well, but I didn't bother picking it up. It's grapefruit base, and usually I split Rattlers with the wife, and she doesn't like grapefruit, so we just stick to. There's a Lowenbrow Rattler that her and I share, and it's really good, very lemony.
Yeah, so that the based on my last week's recommendation, the wife and I were splitting those crabby ginger beers.
Oh
And
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
we picked up a bunch more actually for this weekend because it was just man, those things are delicious. Like that, those are so
I'll have to check
refreshing.
one out.
Oh, yeah, I highly recommend it. That is
So is it just very like it's like a like almost like a ginger ale kind of thing? Is it heavy, sharp ginger, or is it fairly mild?
no, definitely mild. I'd say it's
Okay.
it's like a call it almost like an artisanal ginger ale.
Okay.
So you have your Canada Dry ginger ale,
Yeah.
and take that as your base. But this is like some hipsters put together really
So they
really
added like
tasty,
Campari and stuff to it, and
really really basic. So they didn't go crazy and add like rosemary and like spices or something like it's. But it's just it feels like a
what's
higher quality.
hilarious is that's actually a reality somewhere.
Yeah, guarantee. If it's not, it's going to be. So they just created what would taste like a higher quality ginger ale, like something that felt like somebody really made it, as opposed to
Okay.
a big company. And then it happens to be alcoholic. Like the alcohol is very subdued, and not in a way, not so much as to hide it from people. Like
Yeah.
you're not getting to your fruity drink territory, but it's yeah, super subtle. Like it
Cool.
ends up almost being my recommendation a second time. I was gonna comment where it's curious to see the big companies kind of hop on the craft or even just like diverse taste bandwagon because if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, you'd also recommended the railway
Oh,
ale,
Railside,
rail
by
side
Sleeman.
by
Yeah,
Sleeman.
like Sleeman and Rickards, like those are both companies that are, they're pretty just large breweries. Like they're not really mom and pop operations, but they're starting to play around more because they're seeing that people want variety. They want to try something new. They want people to experiment and try good stuff and occasionally try side launch. And it's I'm
I
just
feel like
joking.
I'm gonna have to mail you a side launch just
No, I'll pick one up. I just like literally they're spilling out of the LCBO in my neighborhood, so there's cans
seriously
rolling out of the gate. No,
because
I'll
I,
pick
I
one up
still
for
can't
next week.
find it. Like cannot
No,
find the
really?
things.
Okay.
Like it's just again, it must be the hipsters in my location.
I think it's just like your neighborhood is really really popular. My neighborhood, it's a lot of people going in and getting like MGD and stuff. And actually, my neighborhood is more wine. There's a lot of wine. Like when I'm in a line at the LCBO, it's a lot of wine and maybe some like Stella and stuff like that as far as beer goes. Um, but yeah,
That makes
I'll
sense.
have to pick some up.
All
I
right.
will, and if I don't like it, I'll put
This
the
will be,
bonus one up.
I prefer it. I'd actually probably get you to not drink it because I need you to drink it in front of Jeff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's why I was gonna get it this week, but I'm like, no, Jeff should be here.
that's why,
It's-
man, we didn't even like mention at the top that he wasn't around.
eh,
As far as anybody knows, he's just been very quiet this episode. Jeff is nodding his head. He agrees with this.
yeah, yeah. To our audio only audience, Jeff's here. He's fine and dandy. He just
Yeah, he looks
doesn't want to talk
great.
about his kids.
Yeah, his kids are just sleeping behind him, so he can't speak. So he's just
Yeah,
miming.
he's
What?
miming the entire episode.
What's that? I look great. Oh, thank you, Jeff. That's very
Aw.
nice of you. What's that, Gavin? You like Gavin's glasses? Oh, that's kind.
Ooh,
Oh, you're
there
very
we
nice.
go. Just left, right, compliments everywhere.
Yeah, Jeff is being so very nice to us this evening.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, he's drinking a side launch. Jeff is in the midst of drinking a
Oh,
side launch, and
look
he
at
is
that.
loving it. Look at his smile on his face.
Wait, what was that, Jeff? That's your third one?
Whoa, my
Wow.
goodness, that's your favorite beer now. I
The kids
knew
love
it
it too.
grew. Okay, let's reel that back, Jeff. No, it's we were we were doing well. I know your kids might like banana and cloves, but don't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no more side launch.
Oh,
Uh, Jeff will be
yeah,
back next week.
yeah.
But speaking of next week, I think we shall take a step towards it in ending this podcast.
Yep.
Everybody, thank you again for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can reach us on our website at newdadgaming.com. You can also find us on iTunes, the Google Podcast Store, and many other places where podcasts are. If you'd like to ask us a question or submit a show suggestion, reach out to us on the website, Twitter, Facebook, any place you like, and be happy to discuss it. Thanks once again, and until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 1-year-old and 2 months. 1 year and 2 months.
My name is Gavin. I have an almost 1-year-old.
Man, that just rolls off the tongue.
Yep.
All right, see you next week.
See ya. Bye.